I just finished watching The Watermelon Man, a movie by Melvin Van Peebles. First, let me say, Floyd House Flicks, Black Cinema Sundays. Welcome to Black Cinema Sundays. And we're going to talk about this movie that I just watched called The Watermelon Man. And it was starring Godfrey Cambridge, um, and Estelle Parsons, who plays his wife. Godfrey Cambridge plays a character named Jeff, and his wife is Althea, Estelle Parsons. And the movie is about a bigoted, chauvinistic, racist white man who works as an insurance agent, and he works in an office predominantly women, some men, but he just says all sorts of reckless things to the women. He berates any black staff that's there, such as the elevator guy or the janitor or whatever. He's just a racist, just says all sorts of racist things. The movie has taken on such a different life since I've watched it as a younger person. This film came out in 1970, and it again, it's very polarizing, as we all know that racism and prejudice and things like that can be very polarizing. Um, Jeff practices white supremacy, and one night let me go back. Every morning when Jeff leaves his house, he races the bus. Instead of just getting on the bus, he races the bus. This is as a white man. He races the bus, and the bus driver is a black man, played by D'Urville Martin. Some of you may be familiar with D'Urville Martin. He got a lot of popularity in the movie Dolomite as Willie Green. We're going to watch Dolomite too soon enough. But bus driver's black, so he races the bus, and he always runs far and past the bus for whatever reason. It's just his exercise and his pomposity causes him to do that. So he's that guy. So he gets to the bus. I mean, he runs quite a distance with the bus. Then he gets on the bus. He gets into the bus and starts talking crazy to the bus driver, telling him, "Yeah, if this was back in the day, you'd be driving the bus from the back." Just being a racist white male. And he goes to work. He talks reckless to the women, talks reckless to the black staffing, which is, again, that's usually like the menial labor, elevator operator, janitor, and such. And there's one Swedish secretary who he's always inappropriate with and touching her the wrong way, and she's kind of pushing his advances off. And he just goes on with his day in his supremacist state of being. And then one night, he goes home, goes to bed, and he wakes up black. He immediately freaks out, of course, and it's funny, he got into the shower and tried to steam the black off his skin, and the wife hears him in the bathroom yelling and screaming, and she goes to check and see what's going on. He opens up the door, or she opens up the bathroom door, goes in the bathroom, and then a black man pokes his head out, and she screams and runs out of the bathroom, "Call the cops, we got a Negro in the bathroom," and blah, 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 blah. And I'm not a Negro, I'm me, and he doesn't understand why this is happening now. So, again, this is just very polarizing for me, just watching it in this day and age. Because before I go that far, let's just say he he decides he needs to go and figure out how he can change his skin. He thought maybe it was the sun lamp. He likes to sunbathe, it's this golden tan, and he figured he spent too much time in the tanning booth. So maybe it was the tan, and he's trying to figure that out. And he is taking milk baths, trying to lighten his skin. And at one point, the wife comes in the bathroom and she says, are you getting any lighter? He says, no, but my skin is becoming lovely and soft. And the movie just keeps going on, and he has to try to find out what's happened to him. So he starts going to the doctor. The doctors do all sorts of tests, and they can't come up with anything, of course. And he takes the day off from work and just has to try to do all sorts of skin procedures and puts a mask on his face, a skin mask, to try to see if he can get his skin color back so he can go back to his life. And nothing is working. Then when he calls his job, he lets them know what's going on. Not that he's black, not that his skin has turned black and he's black, but he's sick, and they allow him to do that. Then the following day, he speaks to his boss. His boss tells him, I understand. It looks like he goes to work, and he looks, oh, you're looking a little darker. Is that tanning light you've been using? It's you've been doing too much. But the boss reassured him everything was okay. But nobody quite understood how and why his skin was so dark. And then gradually it started to come out that he was indeed now a Negro. But before he went, as he was going to work that day, I skipped this. Before he was going to work that day, he was running the bus, racing the bus, as he always does. As he's racing the bus, he's running through his neighborhood, and all the white women outside, they start screaming, there's a black man, he's running, he's done something. And then he's running toward this gas station, and all of a sudden everybody comes out of, what'd you do? What'd you steal? You stole something. And he's running with his suitcase, and in his suitcase he keeps his actual shoes, because when he's running he has those sneakers. But of course he hasn't stolen anything. He's just doing whatever he does, and he was mobbed by his neighbors and people in the community where he lived. He did something. And the cops actually grabbed him and said, you stole something. What did you steal? He said, I didn't steal anything. Well, what's in the briefcase? And he pulls the shoes out. He tries on the shoes. Well, Cinderella, it looks like the shoes fit. We know you did something, but we can't prove anything. So they let him go. And honestly, the film had me at moments. It caused me to laugh. It caused me to think. It caused me to get angry. Or just in this day and age, we still deal with that sort of adversity. We're still looking at that sort of adversity. Even he started to call himself the Black Scourge, because he was making fun of himself because of the way people looked at him, and it caused him to feel that sort of energy. And his wife, who was pretty supportive at first, started to feel the pressure of her black husband that has entered her white world, and now she doesn't know how to deal with it. She was a staunch liberal, very staunch liberal, who decided that she couldn't handle it. And then he and the wife started to get crank calls from the neighbors, and they would say his name, and he'd say yes, and then they move out of our neighborhood, N-word, and they call him the N-word. They just kept calling, and the doctor would call and tell him, well, it's not this that caused your skin to dark, it's not this, and in between those calls he would get the crank calls, or the racist calls telling him to get out of the neighborhood. One thing that was odd is there was the Swedish secretary, the one I said he used to make rude remarks to. Eventually, he started, as soon as he walked in the office, the Swedish secretary was all on him. She was on him. And she stuffed her phone number in his pocket, like, we need to hook up, whatever. And he's married. He's trying to be a good married man, even though he's dealing with all of this stuff. Then there was a moment where he had to go to a meeting with a client. Again, he was an insurance agent, an insurance salesman. He had to go to a meeting with a client, and it was in one of those clubs, specialized clientele, if you will. No blacks are allowed. So he's telling the serviceman, the doorman, who's a white man, he walks up to him immediately. The white man puts his hand up like, where do you think you're going? And he explains about having a meeting with such and such, and he's expecting me. And then they make a fuss. Then the restaurant manager comes out, the club manager comes out, explains to him, oh, well, the gentleman you were supposed to meet, he had to leave. So he's not available. He said he'd give you a call. And of course, it sounded like complete bullshit. So then a crowd started to gather in front of the club. And then they started to pretty much cause a fuss. It was white people, it was black people, and they just started causing a fuss. Jeff started attacking the doorman. And eventually, they go back to the insurance office. They walk into the boss's office. The cop knocks on the boss's door and says, excuse me, is this yours? And has Jeff by his collar. Is this yours? He's like, yeah, he works here. He's like, yeah, well, he stole something, but we don't know what he stole. But he stole something, pretty sure. And that is the type of shit that happens when, not always, but when black people go places that white people are not familiar with black people. That's what the thought is. That's the connotation that happens. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. If you don't understand that, it's probably because you've never seen it happen. I've seen it happen. It's happened to me. So I understand exactly what's going on. Then eventually he seems to understand that his skin is now his skin, and he's never going to be a white man again, because now he gets to see that all of the things that he used to do as a white supremacist are now being done to him, and he actually understands what's going on. Then eventually, after the white neighbors started to call his house, threatening him, telling him he needs to move, he comes home, and his wife has 4 of these neighbors sitting on his couch, telling him, we're trying to do this the best way we can. We don't know any other way to say this, but we need you to move out of our neighborhood because we fear that it's going to threaten the values of our homes, and we're concerned. And I'm just like, wow. And they start off, your house is worth about $40,000. Again, this is 1970. Your house is worth $40,000. He says $37,000 with, but it is what it is. So he says, the neighbor says, we're willing to offer you $50,000 for you to move. He's like, 50? You can do better than that. What about 60, 65? And he does that, and he's 60. Sure. Okay, yeah, 60 is good, but you know what's better? 75 is better. And he said, well, we can't do more than, X amount. Well, it seems like I'm going to have to stay. And as soon as he says that, they say 75. He says 75 is nice, but 90 is better. And then they say 90. And they say, well, I'd like something with a little more arts, a few more arts. What about 100? And the guy says $100,000, but that's all we can offer you. And they give him $100,000 for a $40,000 house because their concern is his black skin, or him being a black man, is going to ruin their neighborhood. Those are things that, between redlining, where black people are not allowed to buy houses in certain areas, certain things are not allowed or offered to black people just because in white communities it's just not to be seen, it's not done. And he found himself in that position. His wife then started to turn on him. She says, I never signed up for this. She sent the kids to Indianapolis with her sister. And she says, I can't do this. And he said, well, it says on our marriage certificate, or it says when we took our vows, till death do us part. She's like, I never knew that you were going to turn into a Negro, which was like, I get it, but shit, it is what it is. And Lisa say she didn't want much to do with him. And then she left. And he's feeling some kind of way, and in desperation, he reaches in his pocket. He finds the secretary's phone number. The secretary gave him her phone number. He called her, and he hooked up with her. And they smashed. And it was funny. They smashed. And she's just telling him that she loves his black skin and the way his black muscles ripple and his blackness and black. And he realizes that then she is also just using him because he's black and calls her a bigot. And she loses her shit and starts to get out of here, you black N-word, and starts flipping on him and calling him all sorts. He's real calm. He's like, yeah, I get it. He says, I'll see you tomorrow. And hopefully by tomorrow, you'll have all the words you need to talk about me. And he winds up leaving. As he's walking down the street, he's like, bye, Erica. And she starts yelling out the window, wait, rape. And that's a dangerous thing. People have died behind that sort of accusation in that day and age. Shit, in this day and age. So he goes back to the office and he tells his boss, who really starts to turn on him as well. And the boss says, I need to see him. He gets into the office. He goes into the office and the boss is like, I need you to sit down. And Jeff looks at him and says, I need you to kiss my ass because I quit. So he quit. He said, you'll be done in 3 weeks. He's like, no, I got enough money. I can do whatever I want to do. I'm good. I'm going to open up my own place. So he opens up his own insurance agency, and it's starting to pay and it's starting to look good for him because the wife, when he goes home that day, the wife is gone. There's a letter written by Dear John letter, as they call it, from her saying that she can't handle it. Pressure's too much. She's going to Indianapolis to be with her sister and the kids. And he winds up with that. And then he sells the house. He gets a small place. He has the business. He's doing his thing. And then out of nowhere, the wife calls him. Before I say that, let me say this. He goes to the black neighborhood. Everything he does, he moves to the black neighborhood. His business is in the black neighborhood. So he goes into one of the establishments, the nightclubs, and then he just watches the cops come in and start harassing the patrons, making them get out of their chairs, get up against the wall, pat them down, making sure that they're not doing anything illegal. And that's the type of thing that happens in black establishments like that. It happens quite often in this day and age. It still happens. So, oddly enough, the wife calls him to check in on him. She had to call information to get his number. She gets his number. And, are you okay? I just want to make sure you're okay. And she says, thank you for all the money you sent. And he's like, well, I sent the money for my kids. They're still my kids, aren't they? It's like, they'll always be my kids. And or they'll always be your kids. And I'll never let them forget that. And he says, oh, that's very white of you. Thank you very much. And he hung up the phone. No, he says, are you getting your exercise? He's like, yeah, I'm getting all my exercise. Because he was a big exercise guy. When he was a white guy, he was always doing the running and the stretching, the Bowflex thing and the shadow box. He did all of that stuff. But she says, are you still getting your exercise? Yeah, I get all my exercise. In fact, I do all my exercising at night now. Then they show him doing his exercise. And it turns out he's doing his exercise as part of the black radical movement. So now he's a black radical. And he's doing the martial arts with the other black radicals in the community to oppose racism, to oppose separatism, not separatism in the sense that blacks should have the same opportunities as the whites. And again, this movie is 1970. It spoke a lot to racism and prejudice and things that happened and still happen to black people in this country and in other countries too. But watching this movie as an adult was very different than when I watched this movie as a young person. And it saddened me that this has not changed. And especially after now this is not partisan, bipartisan, what have you. I'm just saying the Trump experience led us to see that what was closeted and quieted or quelled, if you will, or just kept to themselves became overt. And we got to see all of this stuff firsthand and hear all of this stuff firsthand and be called out of your name as a black person in this country firsthand. You get to see that this has not changed. And this is something that we need to change as a people, collectively. Put this racism away. Understand that we all deal with the same things and we don't need to convolute our already troubled situations with hate and racism. We don't need that. So, not to get too political, The Watermelon Man was a commentary on things that happen in America. And I thought it was well done. Melvin Van Peebles did an amazing job with this movie. I look forward to watching more of his films. In fact, this is where I got this from. The Melvin Van Peebles Essentials. And it has Watermelon Man. It has a movie called Sweetback's Badass Song, which was Melvin Van Peebles, if I'm not mistaken, one of his first movies. He did this as a guerrilla filmmaker. He didn't have permits for anything hardly. And so much going on in that movie. Eventually we will do that movie, but that one is heavy. Another one called The Story of the 3-Day Pass, and the fourth film is called Don't Play Us Cheap. Criterion put this out maybe last year. Great movie collection. Okay, so I think that's all we need to say about The Watermelon Man. Godfrey Cambridge is a G. He was great in this movie. You should really check it out. Whenever you get a chance to watch The Watermelon Man, you better watch it with an open mind, because they're going to say and do things in there that's going to turn you around. How about this? Turn you upside down. Some things will bother you. And if they don't bother you, you might need to consider that. Maybe there's something there. Don't get used to being mistreated, because it don't work. So this has been Black Cinema Sundays. I try to do 2 movies. I think that it's early enough that maybe I can do 2. So I'll look through and I'll see if there's one more that we can do and do this one more time. If not, thank you for joining me. Black Cinema Sundays. Every Sunday we will be doing this. Floyd House Flicks in the building. Black Cinema Sundays. Please return next Sunday and we'll have another one for you. All right. I hope that this was good. Please allow me to continue to grow. Like, share, subscribe. Help me through this. Allow me to grow. I am doing a 100 subscriber giveaway pack. I get movies all the time that I need to give away. Why not give it to you? 100 subscriber. Look for me to do this every Sunday. I'll be back tomorrow for the Physical Media Commute, and we'll talk then. If I do decide to do another movie, if I don't do the wrap up for the movie today, I will do it on my Physical Media Commute tomorrow. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Salute. All be well. Peace.